Now, in 1994, the United States passed the Violence Against Women Act to protect women against domestic abuse. But now lawmakers are planning to re-examine the law in several areas, especially as it deals with millions of immigrants in the United States. VOA's Carolyn Presuitti explains.
I'm a strong lady, I believe I am, but my husband hit me all the time.
For 8 years, Blanca lived a concealed, dark life with a violent husband who punched her in the stomach and repeatedly raped her. She eventually found peace here at the House of Ruth, a shelter offering safety and security to battered women. But before that, she never called police. Blanca was illegal, living in America without a work permit or residency. She feared that if she notified police, they would deport her, and that she would never again see her young son and daughter.
I'm not afraid to go back to my country. I'm not afraid. It's your children separate from you. It's the hard part.
Blanca is not alone. Nearly half of Latinos report their partner's violence increased once they emigrated to the United States. If they're illegal, they fear deportation. So less than 15% report the crime. Lawmakers here on Capitol Hill are taking a closer look at immigrant provisions in the Domestic Violence Act.
It doesn't make any difference whether it's a family member, or a current or past spouse, or boyfriend, girlfriend, acquaintance, or a stranger. It's a crime. It's a crime. It's a crime.
Congress first passed the Violence Against Women Act, known as VAWA, in 1994. It's up for reauthorization in the next 2 years. Advocates want more security for immigrants.
So much more is needed. We must strengthen VAWA so that it can work for all victims of domestic and sexual violence, whether they live in rural or urban areas, whether they speak English or another language. Every victim deserves the chance to live a peace-filled life.
But lawmakers are up against protectionists who don't want taxpayer funds benefiting residents who don't have permission to live in the U.S. Others complain about the confidentiality granted through the law. Once an immigrant claims abuse, their quest for legal status through the VAWA Act is secret. The accused is not sought out for his side of the story. Ron Grignol is a critic who says VAWA makes it easy for women to allege abuse simply to become permanent residents.
Right away, you're given legal status. You don't have to go through that immigration interview. You don't have to go through the administrative law judge. Your spouse or ex-spouse is not allowed to provide any evidence that you think that you committed fraud.
Immigration attorney Melissa Frisk disagrees. She says the law makes it more difficult to prove abuse.
It's going to take longer, and the evidentiary burdens are even higher. So you need even more evidence than you would for a regular immigration application. So it's not easy.
For Blanca, VAWA has changed her life. Through the provisions, she obtained a work permit. She got a divorce and moved out of the house. Now she sees her children on a regular basis.
I feel free. I can read a book and I relax. I have a dream that I can see my children graduate.
It's a dream that can finally roll on to become reality. Carolyn Presuitti, VOA News.
Here to talk more with us about violence against women is Voice of America's correspondent Carolyn Presuitti. Welcome, Caroline.
Thanks, Vincent. Good to be here.
Nice piece there.
Thank you. Thanks very much. It was very interesting to do.
Yeah. Now, from what you gathered, why is it that violence against women seems to increase in the case of women who are illegal immigrants, particularly in this country?
Well, I think you have two issues at play here. The first is culture from their original country. As you know, in many countries, the value system is different. When you come to America, those type of acts are illegal, but maybe not in their home country. So they're dealing with that issue. The second issue is if the one spouse is illegal and the other spouse, as was the case in Blanca, exactly, yes. Her husband had a permanent residency card, not a citizenship, but a permanent residency card, also known as a green card, in which case he could have sponsored her if he chose to.
But he did not.
But he didn't, you're right.
And he used it against
Exactly. He held it over her head, he threatened her, he beat her, he said, you'll do whatever I want, otherwise I'll report you and you'll get deported, which she certainly believed.
Which is a big issue, deportation. But now, you know, violence against women is also an issue, a big issue in Africa. Is there anything, or how is is the U.S. reaching out also to help women in those countries?
That's a good question, actually. And there is the International Violence Against Women Act. That was introduced 2 years ago in 2007. Unfortunately, it never made it out of committee. It died in committee, so it never was voted on. It may come up again. There are a lot of advocates that are pushing for it to come forward. And what that would do is it would make this issue a matter of foreign policy for the United States. Now, Africa is specifically mentioned in that bill, and the conflicts in the Congo, Rwanda, Sierra Leone, all are mentioned in this bill. So there would definitely be some concentration on Africa.
Yes. Now, the Violence Against Women Act is to be reauthorized in the coming 2 years.
Right.
What is it that advocates want to see added to this act to make it even more effective than it is today?
A lot of the immigrant provisions need a once-over, if you will. It's been 5 years since this reauthorization was passed. So now that it's expiring 2 years from now, they want to take a look at the specifics. One is HIV testing for immigrants. And the second is this controversy that you saw in my piece between, is it easier to get residency, and so are women and men lying about the abuse in order to get a clearer path to residency. So that's still a big issue there. Is the fraud prevalent or
So there's
not?
that challenge for a woman that she fears if she reports this thing, she might be caught up by the immigration officials and be deported. But at the same time, there are those who think women might use this abuse issue to get legal status quickly.
Exactly. And one point we want to make here, too, is that even though it's called the Violence Against Women Act, it also protects men who are in the same situation with an abusive spouse who is a woman.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because
So it goes both ways.
men get beat up sometimes, don't they?
Correct.
Yeah, but very, very quickly, when it comes to right now, the options women have left, what are there, particularly for illegal immigrants? What are the little options they're left with?
Right now, we do have that VAWA bill, the Violence Against Women Act, in existence now. So if a woman is illegal in this country, then all she needs to do is notify the shelters around the area, the domestic violence shelters. They will point her in the right direction. And what will happen is she will make her own sponsorship toward her visa, toward her green card. And she'll do that quietly so that her spouse doesn't know.
She shouldn't be scared of being deported.
Exactly, because now there is protection within this law.
Thank you very much,
So,
Carolyn.
thank you, Vincent.